Good morning. It is Friday, June 28th. Time for My Second Universe Writer's Update. Starting with Mirror Mirror on the Wall writing tip. Do I look like my parents at all? Does my main character connect with their parents when they look at their reflection? Slipping into a game session update where the players that I facilitate interact with little lizard men with a very dry sense of humor. And finishing off with a story time improvisation with some idea seeded by my son, who is whispering about my favorite board game or card game or something. So I'll come up off the spot, something real quick there. And yeah, a little riddle at the end that I came up with last night to finish things off. And then I will be next week in Japan. I will get videos out, hopefully. But I'm not sure of the time. I'm a little bit off of the day. But it'll be a wonderful experience. Going to be there for a few weeks. So, mirror, mirror on the wall. Are I like my parents at all? My main character, Hildur, in my novel work right now is, after a month's travel, staring into this cracked mirror, and she says, "Hello, mother." She greets the reflection. She greets the woman she's becoming. She's becoming her mother. It's a horrific thought for her. She does not want to become her mother. I added this very human experience, this shared experience in an edit, in trying to make her more relatable, make the story more immersive. Very important thing for fantasy and science fiction. Extra important to make such stories familiar as possible, because it's such a fantastical setting. How to keep people in. And I think this was a good choice. We'll see if it works, but feel free to use this idea. In her case, it's been like a month of hard travel, not enough sleep and food and stress. So it's had this effect of aging her. And she is also drained and looks at this stranger and then sees familiar face, her mother, and is struck by this revelation that she is becoming her mother in some ways. So she will push back, and it helps her character arc along to push back on the personality traits that she recognizes in herself as sharing with her mother, which she despises. She despises how her mother was. Yeah, so that's fun. Especially as a guy slipping into that thought process of a woman pushing back against the idea of becoming like her mother. It's interesting. It's a good stretch for me. And game session. I am facilitating a moment where the party, the players and their characters, are in a labyrinth filled with minotaurs and little lizard men. The minotaurs are straightforward, blocking, and a sphinx with riddles. The sphinx is straightforward, the minotaurs are straightforward. The lizard men, they're the tricky ones. They are the weakest. I call them dracoms, but they're loosely based on kobolds, mixing in some other things from my childhood, and then also expanded upon by my players. Little do they know, they might say something. I'm like, huh, that kind of makes sense. I'm just going to add that to the species. It's like, oh, they really like traps. Okay, well, I'm gonna like, well, I mean, the D&D kobolds love traps, and I already had in there. I was just giving it as an example. I don't want to give away what inspiration the players have given me for these little races, but for this little race. But at the very least, the players have filled out their sense of humor. A player couldn't have their character present, so he role-played as one of them, and it was just a fantastic experience. Highly recommend not just having a sandbox situation for players in a role-playing game, in a tabletop role-playing game, virtual or in the real, but also allow players to play NPCs. Have space for players to play NPCs when their characters are elsewhere. Don't force all the characters to be in one spot. Allow the sandbox to, don't force the story, allow the sandbox to have characters spread around doing their own thing if you need to, and then just go to the place with the most characters in one spot when the game session comes around in this living story, and then fill in with NPCs. And how I do experience is participation. So it's a combination of role-playing and killing monsters, overcoming obstacles. And if a player is role-playing an NPC, their main character will get that experience that they gain for that session. I'll just presume that their character was doing something to gain strength. It is a role-playing game. I'm going to be fair. I want to encourage participation. That's how I roll. I recommend it. It's been working for us for a few years in this current iteration through the online tabletop program website Roll20, and then story time improvisation. So my son said, board game. What's your favorite board game? A story about your favorite board game or card game. I really enjoyed playing Hearts when I was in college. I went for a week to Portland. I was in Salem going to Willamette University, and I did a volunteer week. Can't remember if it was spring break. One of those, something like that. It was probably spring break. And we came to Portland and we built fences for people. And I've been in Portland for years now, but that memory feels like a whole nother city. It's funny. That disconnect when you don't live in a place and you visit it, and you have a very focused experience, and then you may go back there and live there, and they seem like separate places. I conceptually didn't like the idea of essentially spending money to work. Like, giving up my vacation, I'm working, I'm essentially spending money on life. But it was it was a great experience. When I thought about it logically, it didn't make sense, but it was rewarding. I learned some things, but none so important as Hearts. That Hearts can be a lot of fun with more than 4 people. Every night we played Hearts. Now, I am quite old, so this happened 1997, 96, 97, thereabouts, long before the internet long before it is what it is today. Before social media, and it just wasn't a thing. We didn't have phones, we didn't have distractions, we had each other. So every night we would stay up, like 6 of us, 7, like there's a lot of us, and we'd play Hearts night after night. And I learned to shoot the moon like I never have before. I love shooting the moon. And we would hassle each other. It was such a wonderful dynamic. It was a socially enriching cap to a day of hard work. Work that I wasn't getting paid for, but it was still a wonderful experience. I wouldn't want to keep doing it without getting paid, but it's a great memory. And I think my best memory from a board game or a card game, because it's just pure good night after night. Now, I've had some great board game experiences, but they always had a kind of, maybe it was like an all-day Twilight Imperium session, or, something like that. It's like, oh god, there was a whole day gone. Or a shorter game, but it just didn't have the impact of night after night, cap in the evening. The social strength from a game like Hearts, where you're staring around the table. And everybody can get a deck of poker cards, right? Easy thing for everybody to have. I'm thinking of maybe when I go to Japan of see if I can get my wife's family to play with me. It could be fun. We'll see. Ending with a riddle. Crying child, don't lie on a jealous uncle. After your tears dry, what becomes of your tissue? Survive war to age with something more than wrinkles. Acids and bases can both end faces. What's new? That's it. The riddle text will be in the description. One guess. One guess. These are designed for only one guess. See you next week, probably. And I should think of a good catchphrase. Tasty taco is my son's catchphrase. I need to come up with my own. What's a good one? How about demonics? Like demonic? Demon X? No. What's my favorite food? Steak. I really like steak. No, cheese. I don't like cheesesteaks. I'll give it some more thought. Maybe I'll think of something later. A catchphrase. I need a catchphrase.